In this video, I'm going to break down the first 7 of 14 things you actually need to become a confident coach. Now, it's not what most people are searching for, therefore it's not what most people are offering, and therefore that's why almost nobody becomes a confident coach. Don't make that mistake. So let's dive into confidence. Confidence is how we feel about our skill set. We often get confidence confused with self-esteem, which is how we feel about ourselves. It's important to distinguish the two because we need to have the right target. And then the other thing that we talk about a lot here that's so critical for transformational coaching is certainty. Certainty is an embodied knowing. It's an embodied knowledge that you can feel and your clients can feel. A lot of people aren't consciously and intellectually looking for certainty because it's hard to measure. It's just a feeling. It's just a knowing. And if you don't have a whole lot of certainty, your message is really going to repel people. They will sense the doubt in your voice and in your energy. They will sense that you're not fully sold on the product or on the outcome or your ability to deliver either of those, and they'll feel it. And that's one of the things that happens with a lot of people. You might have a lot of certifications, but you don't have certainty. And nobody will hire you for your certification, at least in transformational coaching. People will hire you for your certainty. And a certification doesn't necessarily bring certainty. In fact, it usually doesn't. That's one of the things that we're going to dive into today. And what does actually create the kind of certainty that we're talking about? What builds coaching confidence, especially transformational coaching? So if you've had some kind of transformational experience as a client or in a seminar or reading a book and you want to be a transformational agent, then it's a different animal. We're not just shifting information here. We're not just delivering information, transferring knowledge from my head into your head. We're actually wanting to change people's lives. And that's a whole different game because people either don't understand what that process looks like, they don't understand transformation, or they haven't felt it themselves. Then they try to follow the transformational path with the informational rules. Dang. Both for ourselves and the process of the coaching. You know, there's 2 main kinds of coaching. There's informational coaching, there's transformational coaching. If you play the informational coaching rules, you won't succeed in the transformational coaching playground. There are 14 elements that, in my experience, are required to increase your coaching confidence to the point where you have coaching certainty. Most of these things are not what people are focused on. It wasn't what I was even focused on in the beginning. I learned my coaching confidence through a lot of action, through a lot of ignorant action. I was doing all kinds of teleseminars back in the day. I was handing out a bunch of CDs at trade shows, and I was doing a bunch of in-person events. I was going really anywhere that anybody would listen, and I was just doing the work and doing the work and doing the work. I got certified in transformational coaching tools, but that didn't give me the confidence of how to learn or how to use those tools. I just had all these intellectual ideas of when to do or what to do certain things, like certain exercises and stuff, but I didn't really understand the human. I didn't understand what we were actually doing here. I didn't understand transformation until I just did a lot of work for a lot of time. So this is not theory. This is not learned in some kind of a book. This wasn't anybody's slide deck that I'm consuming and then just transferring it over to you. This is based upon 15 plus years of personal development work with myself, talking to other people in the industry, and well over 10 years training coaches to not just be better coaches, but build businesses. So over the course of these 10 years, we as a company are constantly saying what's working and what's not working. Why are these coaches that went through the exact same program succeeding and these coaches aren't? The curriculum is the same. The teacher is the same. All of the opportunities in terms of learning is the same. So what are the elements that are different in these coaches and those coaches? And I'll tell you, in the last 3 years or so, we've really identified what the main ingredient variables are. What do these coaches do that succeed? And what do these coaches do that don't succeed? And most coaches don't succeed. That's just a fact. That's not even a problem. That's just a fact. And then your question is, which side of the fence do you want to be on? Do you want to be on the side of the fence where, in my estimation, probably 95% of coaches never hit any one of their goals or anywhere near the kinds of goals that they want, especially if they want to build a business? Or do you want to be on the side of the very small percentage? 5% is rounded way up. I think it's probably closer to 1 or 2%, especially when we look at coaches that actually become full-time coaches and can do this as a business. Most people that I talk to want to do this as a business, but the vast majority don't. And a lot of it is because of the mindset that they bring into it. And a huge piece is they never achieve coaching certainty. They never really fully have confidence oozing out of their cells. And one of the main reasons is they don't do these 14 things. So we're going to break these 14 things apart. Today, we're going to talk about, in this video, 7 of them. And then in the next video, we're going to talk about the remaining 7 elements. So I'm a reporter in this case. I'm telling you, after all these years, this is the distinction. Now, this becomes a little risky. What I mean by that is, by me teaching the truth, I'm going to turn a lot of people off because people don't typically want the truth. People want fantasy. People want to eat more cake and lose weight. People want the magic pill version of success. And that's one of the reasons why we're so tempted by a lot of the marketing messages out there, is because a lot of marketers will sell what people are demanding. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's truthful. In fact, usually it's not truthful, because our egos don't want a bunch of hard work. Our egos don't want things to be uncomfortable. Our egos don't want things to take a long time. Our egos want a smooth, comfortable, convenient path toward our riches and our dreams to all come true. So that's what the ego is looking for, and the ego is hoping that it's true. That's why I call it a fantasy. The ego is hoping that it's true, to the point where the ego will pay for the potential that the fantasy is true. In 15 plus years looking back, I've never seen any one of those fantasies be true. What happens is, when we chase the fantasy, then our dreams are never achievable, because there is no fantasy path to sustainable success, to real, fulfilling, truthful, and truth-filled, and purpose-filled success. You can't get there through a fantasy bridge. So if you keep searching for the fantasy approaches, over the course of time, you will have wasted so much more money, so much more energy, so much more time than had you just done the foundational approach. So you really can focus on foundation, or you can focus on fantasy. If you're committed to fantasy, you're going to hate me, because I don't teach it. I don't believe in it, because it's never worked for me. So we're going to talk about the truth about what people need to experience in order to raise your confidence as a coach. The first one is, you got to understand humans. This crystallized for me recently, like in the last few weeks, how so many coaches, even if they understand coaching tools, they don't understand humans. They don't understand the depth of human behavior. If you haven't studied human behavior, how can you help people change it? You can't. Even if you understand the mechanics of coaching tools, but you don't understand the animal that you're working with, and that animal being the person and or animals like habits and traumas and beliefs and conflicts and values and all the things that are in the recipe of human behavior. If you don't understand all that stuff, then your coaching tools are virtually going to be useless, because you won't know exactly when to use them or how to use them or how to not use them if something isn't going well. It's like the mechanic that really fully understands the engine of the car. if you really fully understand the engine of the car, then you can have almost whatever tools you have at your disposal. If you understand the engine, the tools are less important. If you understand the human, the coaching tools are less important. The coaching certificate is less important. Memorizing the scripts of the coaching exercises is less important. And I think most of us, again, this is the fantasy approach. Most of us are hoping and wishing that coaching is just super clean and easy. And when somebody says A, I'm going to say B, and then they're going to have this beautiful transformation and they're going to like me and they're going to throw roses at me and I'm going to have all these clients and I'm going to have this wonderful coaching business. That sounds amazing in the fantasy world, and it just doesn't work that way because we're messy. We are so damn messy as humans. We don't have this linear path. Most coaches, I believe, are looking for the static rules for success. The static rules to be a successful coach, meaning when this happens, do this. Our brains love static rules. Our brains love rigid rules so that we know every single time this happens, we do that every single time. The brain wants that kind of rigidity because the brain wants to know that we are fully prepared for anything that might come up. So the brain wants to memorize the rules for dealing with human behavior. But humans never stay the same. So I want you to understand how ridiculous this is if we look at it through this lens. Most of us are looking for rules that never change to deal with humans that never don't change. We want rules that always stay the same to deal with animals that never stay the same. So what's more important? Putting your time and energy and sourcing your confidence from the rules or sourcing your confidence from understanding humans? And most study, in my experience, from what I've seen, from what I've heard from people that have massive amounts of certifications and zero clients, when I ask, what have you learned and what do you know and what do you not know? What's missing quite often is a deep understanding of the humans that they actually want to help. Without that, the tools are just going to be frustrating, actually. Because the mind will go, I don't understand. I'm prepared with all the things that I think I should be prepared for. So why am I still afraid? Why do I still have doubts? Why do I still show up in potential coaching conversations or consultations and I don't show up with boldness or confidence? It doesn't make sense to the mind because the mind says, I know all the tools. I know all the exercise. I've done all the things that should increase my confidence. Why didn't my confidence increase? And for so many people, it's because you don't actually understand who it is that we're dealing with. The good news is when you understand human behavior at a deep, deep level, transformational coaching actually becomes exceptionally simple. It will never be easy according to the rules of easy by the intellect, but it's exceptionally simple. When you understand what humans are actually desiring and the way that we deal with trauma, the way that we deal with our fears, the way that we deal with our beliefs, the way that we overcompensate for our perceptions of deficit, when we understand how humans deal with things, it's exceptionally, almost shockingly simple to help people change. That doesn't mean it's fast necessarily, but it's simple. So that's the biggest reason. That's why I spent a little more time on this. That's the biggest reason, I think, the most common reason and the most significant reason that people don't have coaching success. And if this is landing for you and or coaching confidence, if this is landing for you, then just put your hand up, type in the comment that you can recognize that you might have confidence in certain areas, but you don't have the kind of certainty that's attracting clients. All right. The second thing is practice inside of an isolated container that's only designed to increase coaching confidence. The increase of coaching confidence is not the same as the improvement of speaking confidence or the improvement of any other skill confidence. It's not the same because we're dealing with humans. We're dealing with messiness. So you've got to be inside of a track that is designed specifically and only for the increase of transformational coaching confidence. There has to be purpose. There has to be intention. There has to be bumper rails, essentially. There's got to be isolated practice. There's got to be a focus on the tools of coaching confidence, not necessarily just the tools of coaching, but there's got to be a focus on the muscles of coaching confidence. How do we develop those muscles? And the way that we develop transformational coaching muscles is different than the way that we develop so many other skill confidence that we have in our life. And again, that's one of the reasons why a lot of people struggle, is because we take the thing that works in one path and we try to apply it to this path, and they're different paths. The third ingredient is one-on-one accountability and small group support. We have to find ourselves in the container. We have to get our personal questions answered inside of these bumper rails. We don't generally look for that. We generally look for the assembly line approach that we can just fit ourselves into and then easily make the transition. I don't think any of us are consciously looking for that or intentionally looking for that, but that's actually what most people are looking for. They're not putting themselves under the microscope. And if you want to be a transformational coach with a lot of certainty, you've got to have personalized attention. You've got to have support on a small scale, not inside of a group with thousands of people where it's easy to hide. You've got to have small support where there's personal, not just attention, but there's personal connection with other people that are focused on you and you focused on helping other people as well. Those are the invisible details when people are looking forward. I say it's invisible because when we think about what we need to succeed, very, very rarely does our unconscious mind and our intellect go, you know what we need? One-on-one accountability and small group support. It's almost never a thing that we're looking for. And it's almost always one of the big missing ingredients for people that are struggling. And what I've learned is that it's more important to build your stamina than it is to build your strategy. Most people are focused on strategy. How do I sell? What are the funnels? How do I message? How do I market? What do I do on LinkedIn? What do I do on Instagram? What do I do on Clubhouse? What do I do in email? How do I do webinars? All of that is strategy. And strategy is important, but nowhere near the most important thing. What's more important is your stamina. What's more important is you getting back up when you get knocked down, dealing with missed expectations, hearing the hope in other people's stories, getting excited when other people are doing things and they're getting success or they're learning lessons and they're sharing them with you. So you have a group shared co-creative experience rather than just your own experience. That is one of the biggest missing ingredients for most people. And what's so interesting about that is when you ask most people looking back on their journey toward coaching success, what are the things that they really needed? This is one of the things that almost every single person will say they needed. But if you ask people that are early on in their journey what they think they need, I've never heard anybody say that. So there's a really critical component here because we have to understand that the way our intellect thinks about what we need to succeed is different than what we actually need to succeed. So it's extremely significant to recognize most people looking forward don't see the need for that. Most people looking backward recognize not just the need, but the requirement and the recognition that if I didn't have that, I would have quit a long time ago. The fourth ingredient is mentor coaching. Somebody who's further along the coaching journey than you and can watch what you're doing and answer specific questions that are unique to your processes, unique to you as a coach, not just in a group setting, but having somebody that says, oh, I used to do that too, or here's another thing that you can focus on. And just having that mentor guidance and facilitation is critical. Again, most people don't have that, and that's one of the reasons that a lot of people fail. The fifth one is a community that's bigger than the small group support that I was talking about, but a community that provides big support, like big in the sense of a co-creation that is so much bigger than just you or your accountability partnership. It's like we've got to have the kiddie pool to swim in sometimes, and we need the ocean to swim in sometimes, because they give us different things. What you can accomplish in the kiddie pool is different than what you can accomplish in the ocean, or what you need from the ocean versus what you need from the kiddie pool. So that level of community, as long as it's constructed properly and it's all designed to help people win and help people consume and help people implement, is critical. The sixth thing, it's so fun to do this. And again, it's just such a missing piece. It's the dissection and discussion of the work. What so many people are doing is just learning how to do the work, but they don't dissect the work. And if you don't dissect the work and you don't look with minute detail as much as possible, why did they say this? And why did that coach do this? And what if the coach would have done that? Has anybody tried this? And did you notice the response in the client when they did this? It's a group dissection and discussion of the work. It's like literally, it's like going into a lab. It's rolling your sleeves up and pulling it apart. It's the study of the art of transformational coaching. So critical. Most people don't do it. Therefore, most people don't understand it. And you can't control something you don't understand. So if you only study the simple way in terms of like the, remember these questions to ask, or just remember how to do this exercise. If you only study the regurgitation model of coaching, like you see it, you study it, and then you do it the exact same way, then when it doesn't go that same way, you'll short circuit, because your mind doesn't understand what to do, because it doesn't really truly understand the process. As long as the process goes the exact same way that you're expecting and hoping that it goes, then you're fine. But if somebody makes a left turn when they were supposed to go right or stay straight, you don't understand what to do, because you don't understand the process itself. I have a friend of mine that went to Israel, and they spent some time. He went to the Olympics, and in their Olympic study, they went to spend some time with Israeli fighter pilots. And I believe what he said, these numbers might not be exact, but I'm pretty sure this is right, or at least it's close. I believe he said that the fighter pilots shared with them that when they learn how to fly a plane, or when they're just doing, the process of becoming a better pilot, what they'll usually do is they'll fly for like an hour and then discuss it for 9. So they fly for a small amount of time, but then they dissect it for a huge amount of time. And it's the collective dissection from the group that actually causes them to learn more about the whole understanding of what they're doing than the actual doing of what they're doing. That's a really important concept to understand. That's what mastery is. If you want mastery, if you want an advanced level of confidence and certainty, you have to do what masters do. And masters don't just watch somebody. Like, if you want to be a phenomenal piano player, you don't just watch somebody play the piano and then just copy them and never change. You've got to put yourself into it. Otherwise, mastery will never be available to you. You've got to dissect and study and play with the whole process and the art form of transformational coaching. And then you can be something and someone that can truly change lives, because your energy has the confidence and the certainty in it. The final one we're going to talk about in this video is different perspectives. I've already alluded to it a couple times with some of the other things. You need other people's input. You need other people to ask questions that you didn't even know you had. You need to hear answers to other people's questions that are asked in a different way than what you would have asked. And you need other people to go, I've been there, or I tried this, or have you ever thought this? If we don't have other people's perspectives, then obviously all we have is this myopic pathway of only our own personal experiences. We've got to form a collective, co-creative unit of people. It's like that concept of a rising tide raises all ships. It's that same kind of way. Let's all put our minds together and have exponential co-creation rather than just a single form of creativity or a single form of learning just based on your experience. So if you're a client, but you only have one coach, your experience is only going to be from your perspective as a client and from their perspective as a coach. You want to expand in 360 degrees in order to really unleash your ability to master the art of transformation. And when you understand what transformation is, and you understand how humans work, then we can like go anywhere and just do this work. It's like if you were trained, if you became a master at fixing clocks and you understood how the gears work, and you understood that every time the second hand stops, then it's one of these three things that you got to look at. Once you have total certainty about how to fix clocks, then it doesn't matter the size of the clock. It doesn't matter exactly what happened to that particular clock. If you understand the mechanism called clocks, then you can do the work almost irregardless or almost regardless of, irrespective of, I don't even know if either one of those is the right way to say it, but regardless of what the actual variables are, if you understand clocks, you understand clocks. When you understand humans, you understand humans. And the freedom inside of that level of certainty, where you know that even if you don't have a shared experience with somebody, you understand the clockwork of humanity, you understand how the gears of human behavior rotate and how they work together with each other, and you understand the variables. There's really, truly, virtually nothing, you know, aside from like neurological disorders or something like that. But if we're just looking at human behavior, programmed human behavior, there's virtually nothing that you can't help somebody shift out of. There's virtually no transformation that you can't help somebody do. It might not be in a single session. It might take a while, depending on what the issue is and the client's readiness and the client's leverage and coachability and all that sort of stuff. But if you understand humans, you understand humans. And that's possible. A lot of people don't think it's possible because maybe they haven't had a transformational experience or for whatever reason, but it is possible to learn this work. And that's what I want you guys to take away from this. Not just this video, but everything that we teach. It's possible. It's possible to heal. Most people just aren't willing to. And it's possible to become a healer. Most people just aren't willing to. Whatever healing looks like. If you're talking about the deep transformational work, great. If you're talking about helping people just succeed at more of the, you know, kind of surface level goals they have, great. Whatever that looks like, it's possible for people to transform. It's just that most clients aren't willing to, and most coaches are not willing to learn how to actually do the work. Now, if you like this video, check out that video right there where I go through the other 7 things on this list of the 14 things you need to actually become a confident coach. We're asking questions. We're not directing solutions. We're asking questions so that the person who tied the knots can untie the knots.